Welcome to this kickoff of Accelerator Academy, and that is Excel spelled like Microsoft Excel. If you're listening via the Love Learning You podcast or our YouTube channel, thank you so much for being here. I wanted to share this as a podcast episode as well because it's actually the kickoff and launch of Accelerator Academy, which is a new, very short, low cost, efficient way for you to master some tricks of the trade with Excel. A lot of my consulting firm, quite honestly, has been built on understanding how to not only create visualization of data, but also integrate different systems. Even I can attribute much of my success, whether it was a K-12 classroom teacher role, moving into a literacy coach role, or then going on to be principal and superintendent. Much of my success was honestly contingent upon, I can say this for being an entrepreneur 8 years in too. So 8 years full time. I've been an entrepreneur for many decades actually, but um, I've now had my consulting firm, Educator Aid, for about 8 years. And I will say that one, again, this is true for entrepreneurship. So, one thing about me, I love culture and communications. Those are kind of my areas of expertise. If you've heard me talk on this podcast or in the past, many of my program models and that I've worked with nonprofits, K-12 school districts, as well as some corporations, some corporate settings over the years, it goes back to strategic planning, strategic mapping, and understanding the true cultural indicators that are driving the climate and the morale that your employees are experiencing. More times than not, again, this has been K 12 settings following my career in K 12 education since I was 21. So I give you that little bit of background, not only so you can get to know me a little bit, but you understand some of my passions and some of the things over time that you might see come out of my brain and be put pen to paper. So just know that we do have some entrepreneur programs. We have the Edupreneur Vision Accelerator, some other things that will be offered in our platform here that we're offering for you all to sign up. You can look at the links below if you're interested in jumping ahead. But without further ado, let's hop into this first module of learning in the Accelerator Academy. I give the background, and I'm going to liken this to nature. I give my background because number one, it lets you know a little bit about who I am, but I love the creative process and the ideating process. I see this pattern in nature a lot. I spend a lot of time gardening and I've always been obsessed with flowers, landscaping, etc. I often am visualizing landscaping the same way that I'm visualizing data and graphs, the same way that I've been doing scrapbooking or making up my own collages since I was a child. So, what I've realized and tapped into, and I hope that if you're watching this, you get the opportunity to sit with this as well, this concept. Um, I'll also offer a link. We have a free journal for educators and entrepreneurs on mindset. So for me, all of this is cohesive. But when I named those different things, what I started to realize as not only an educator and entrepreneur were that I have a lot of skills that can transfer. And when we start to step back and get off of the dance floor and get on the balcony of our lives, so to speak, we can do the dance a little bit different when we revisit our dance floor, meaning we have to sometimes zoom out. And for me, I was trying to land on, okay, well, I'm really, really good at not only observing people and situations, but I'm also good at creating and designing systems and how things look and telling a story. Those are skills that have to do with scrapbooking, data management and dashboards, designing of apps. I can go on, or even gardening, laying out landscape for people, whatever the thing is. It for me, it all just goes back to understanding how my brain is wired. So I am big on sharing all of the different avenues, whether it is healing modalities or just educational things that I've reached out over the years to different mentors for personal development programs or courses. I am an open book when it comes to that. So you kind of get all of it here. And if you just like the technical, again, go ahead and hop into the other trainings that we have in Accelerator Academy. But I wanted to share this across all platforms, not only so that you get all the free resources that I've linked below in the show caption, or if you're on YouTube in the video caption, but you also get some hints at what I've been working on and how you can use this for yourself. So, one of the things that I will be sharing in Accelerator Academy, if you're enrolled, then you can find this here. You have a direct link to download this as your own file and customize it. I also want to point out that anything that I'm showing you currently, and if you're in Accelerator Academy, you're going to find that there's some specific videos just on Google Sheets. But for the most part, at this point, Google Sheets is pretty adept with all of the same add-ons, so to speak, that you would find in Microsoft Excel, which is what I'm showing right now on my screen. So this is a customized dashboard for Accelerator Academy that I've designed. And in this first session, all that I'm looking at, and again, this can be used for a multitude of things. My main goal here is to really make K-12 entrepreneurs as well as K-12 educators your lives easier, healthier, and wealthier. So any of the apps that you see in our platform coming out, they're going to be ways for you to do that. And you hop in with what makes sense for you, your learning abilities and styles. This is more looking at Excel 101. So if you're one of those people who you have to do things in Excel, but maybe you've never sat down and taken the time to understand how certain features work, this is a video for you. And you can see here our little Teach Techies logo. That's on every single tab. So the first thing I want to point out if you're new to Excel is when you look at the bottom of a spreadsheet, you're going to see all of the different tabs across here. One of the pieces about visualizing data from the very start that I am very particular about is color coding. And color coding not only helps tell the data story, it can help you identify trends much more quickly. In our example data set here, and these are just all part of the Team Educator Aid Network, my consulting firm. So don't fear not, these are not real student names. These are some of our consulting partners at Educator Aid, including myself. And this is just example data sets. And so what you see here is I've applied some conditional formatting. I'm going to give you a lot of meat in every single one of these videos, but make them short and sweet so that if you want to go back and review certain parts or practice it with the template that you download, which is this one, and then fill it in as you please, then you can do that. I've already programmed in some very simple, different how you calculate. So anytime you're working in Excel, you want to also call your attention not only to the tabs of this workbook. So this is considered one worksheet that we're looking at, and this is the verbiage that I'll use throughout the trainings. But this is also considered, these are worksheets down here. So the whole thing is considered a workbook. And so I have multiple samples. And again, in Accelerator Academy, I'm going to be giving you all of the details about not only how to program this, but how to do it very fast and just fill in each year or each class or each group of people you have. Maybe you want to use this for students that you are coaching and you're an entrepreneur. But this is mainly targeted towards K-12 and wanting to track data in different ways. This is also perfect if you happen to see this in your assistant principal, an instructional coach, or a principal, and you are looking for ways to actually see snapshots of school-wide data in specific avenues. That is why you see this is built for pre-K through sixth grade as an example entire dashboard. So you utilize it simply by populating the columns for each student. And then the running dashboard at the bottom is actually going to update the percent categories automatically. So say that I go back and I go, you know what, this thing that Linda took, this little assessment with 3 total questions, actually, she only did 3 of those right, or excuse me, 1 of those right and got a 33%. You're going to see that it automatically updated this overall average so that I can see, you know, when it comes to me giving this first exit ticket, we had some struggles. Linda still struggled on the second one, but by the third assessment of a different standard, we can see that she actually has shown a certain level of mastery, but I would want to go back and probably reteach this particular literacy standard for this particular student. So when I think about this in K-12 context, this is called conditional formatting. When I click right here on this tab at the top that says conditional formatting, this is where you can go wild with how you like to visualize best. Please know and understand these tools are birthed out of what is easiest for me. When I started my teaching career in 2006, I was involved in also a lot of district wide rollouts for technology integration, specifically with curriculum mapping and also development of pacing guides. The thing is, even when, and my history is mainly in large urban public school systems in the United States. So many of us, that's not our context. And if you're a teacher specifically in a mid-sized suburban, or, and when I say mid-sized, I mean maybe a school district with 20 to 30 schools or less, all the way down to rural schools. Those are actually what make up a lot of the school districts in the United States. And I would argue the same is true across the global scale. We might have some large urban public systems, but we also have so many other smaller pods, whether it is co-ops of homeschool parents who are pooling their resources or hiring some community-based teachers to manage a small number of students, whether it's religious private schools. The problem becomes it can be hard to have streamlined data solutions. What I ran into being in large systems was that there were so many things. Often, even though you might get a report from Compass Learning, you might get one from IAR, you might get one from NWEA MAP, you might get one from iReady, you might get some from now Science of Reading is huge, like all of these different things, HMH, like whatever your curriculum stuff. And that can be great. But what I was finding was I just wanted to know the basic facts. Like, how did kids do? How do I know that they're doing that well? And how do I become almost a data scientist with how I not only share that story and have students own it, but to also understand how I communicate that to parents and other colleagues. So, other teachers who I might be sharing some teaching responsibilities, such as a interventionist or a special needs teacher, an English learner teacher, whatever those accommodations or modifications for students are, I can tell you that their performance is often contingent on the systems and structures you have put in place that make sense for you as a teacher to actually analyze student data well and to streamline that process so you are not spending hours and hours doing data entry and input. That is what so many of my tools are designed to do. And this is where you're going in here. And I could change this icon if I say, you know what, I want to do flags. I changed it for just that box. So anytime I'm in here selecting conditional formatting, you're going to have to select what you want it to apply to. So if I want to change the icon set to flags for all of them, then I would select all of those icons just like this. And I can figure out as well, you know, maybe I want color scales for this, and I want to show a gradient of how they did. But I also want the flag icons. I think those are pretty cool. And it's going to give it to me in that way. So there's a lot of variation when I think of conditional formatting. The other reality is that I also have rules set up. So right now, I have certain rules set up for a data bar or a 3-color scale, and you can choose what are your highest and lowest values. Currently, anything I have my scale set to anything that is 75% or above is going to be green, and then anything between 74% and I believe 60% is yellow, and then anything 59% and below is red. So you can add as many colors as you want. You can add as many rules as you want. But the first step will be, how do you want to set up your student data center or your dashboard, so to speak? This is an example, again, on if I wanted to track different standards, and then how did that look over time? Maybe this, I'm just using this for my classroom. Perhaps I want to do one tab and it's math, one tab is science, one tab is literacy, right? This is designed to give you that flexibility. These are all just blank, and you can easily add rows. So let me go through those directives really, really quick, just in case you're new to that. I always do a right click personally, because right here you can choose what you want to insert. And I'm just going to hit insert because I want to add a row. It's as simple as doing that. You can also copy paste and add a bunch of rows under that. When I put in a mass percentage, so say that I want to track standards, and this is just one card for one student, and I know that at the past 10 assessments, they got 100%. You can also just drag that so that it is categorized the same. So anytime you want to have a repeating input value, you're going to simply wait until you see the plus sign in the right corner, and you're going to drag that down so it just repeats the same input. So, for example, if I had a kid who got the same exact scores, I could also paste that. I could do a copy paste, but just know these formulas are already set for you, even if you're going to add rows above, even if you're going to copy paste a column. Let's do that really quick. Say that you go, well, I want way more on my dashboard than what you have already. Although, if it were up to me, I would say the reason why is you want to assess one specific priority or power standard, so to speak, a core standard, foundational. You're probably going to assess that 3 different times. So, if it were me, I would just fill in the same standard and keep track for my whole class. I gave 3 different exit tickets, and then how did that result? That's when you see the sample dashboard, what this could capture. Now I put different standards just because, but this concept, again, I want you to take and run with what makes sense for your brain. I've taught a multitude of grade levels in a multitude of settings. So for me, it was always about what am I intending to find out about this particular class, or what do I need to know in order to communicate this information really well, not only to my principal, my grade level partners, but also to parents and most of all to students. And we'll get into that in another session here for Accelerator Academy. And I do want to show you that before we hop off. It's one of the links I've included. So I'm not going to get into the pivot charts or the skills mastery and how we run the pivot charts and the sample graphs and etc. But we do have another video of that in Accelerator Academy. What I want to show you really quick and what we do have coming is called another academy called Jotform Academy. That is still in the works for you all. And I'm still recording some videos for it. But what I want to show you is you have received, and I wanted to do a demo of this too, so that my podcast listeners could see, I am not only a Jotform official channel partner, which I'm very proud to be. I've worked with them a long time and used a lot of their data tools to not only develop and build apps, but to also gather and organize information and develop surveys for a lot of my clients over the years, which have been really, really powerful in not only tracking results, but also identifying programmatic adjustments along the way with what we were doing and how we were serving the different school districts. So all of that to say, I am sharing my affiliate link with you all, which you want to be sure to use in the show notes. Here is why. This affiliate link that I've shared is going to take you to a brand new feature that has just released for Jotform. And what you can do is actually use the link. It's going to take you directly here to what you're seeing right now. You can decide to upload a chapter, a document, a text, whatever, a presentation you already have, previous teaching units, right? So say you have your lesson plans and your objectives for the week. I simply chose, going back to our sample data dashboard, I simply chose a math 4th grade standard on fractions. I taught 4th grade. It's one of the grades I taught. I love it. But I also took extra grad classes to actually understand assessment design and how to better deliver instruction for math, because I had my own learning curves with math as a student. So even though I have a great statistical brain, I love categorizing things. I'm a whiz with data and formulas. There were a lot of math concepts I actually struggled with as a student in elementary school. I struggled to pass the math praxis test to even get my teaching license. And it just goes to show you that we always have to consider multiple formats and multiple modalities for how we assess student learning and mastery of objectives, because it's not one size fits all when we're demonstrating knowledge, and all of our brains are wired so differently. There's still some very things that to me seem very basic in math that I struggle with. But over here, I can run these statistical analysis things and all types of models all day long, and I understand it and I love it. It just depends on how our brains are wired. So my hope is that this also helps streamline and make your life way easier, whether it's as an entrepreneur, you want to have some type of quiz that you create or checkpoints you create in a program or course you've designed, or if you're K-12, you're teaching, or you're a parent at home and you want to check your students' knowledge. What I put in here was an explicit prompt. This is what I prefer if you want to get really granular. And it's all about, just like when we set up your data dashboard, it is all about how you decide to program it and structure it. Prompts using artificial intelligence or large language models, such as this, prompting is all about how specific you can be. So, what I put in for the prompt was to develop a short quiz assessing the fourth grade content math standard about comparing two fractions. When there's different numerators and different denominators, you can see the full text there. It's a Common Core standard for fourth grade. I also put into the command prompt, use all 5 levels of Webb's depth of knowledge in questioning approaches. So I'm going to show you the power of this. I decided I want to do 10 questions, and I want to do multiple choice, single choice, and yes or no. I want to do a variety of not only levels of Webb's depth of knowledge from the different levels. You could also do Bloom's taxonomy. It depends on what your preferred intention is with the quiz you're designing, the assessment you're designing. I want to offer multiple types as well, because a lot of this does then prepare for a more comprehensive conceptual understanding and retaining of this particular standard. So I want to see that showcase, and I want kids to do that a multitude of ways. So let's hit create, and you can see how fast that Jotform AI is going to work for you. And I will show you how you can really 10 times this. And this is what we'll get into if you're interested in Jotform Academy in the future with us. But the math fractions quiz, it's already created it. And it's going to go through the questions very simply. Now, you can also look at, if you have your kids just pull out their phones or their tablets, etc. I don't know what the guidance is in your school or what they have access to. Many schools do have one-to-one Chromebooks, but it's going to show you the different viewpoints of how this looks. There are completely free plans with Jotform. You just have to sign up. And that is where I would say use my affiliate link. Let me know how it's going in our Teach Techies community. I will also be posting some things there. So make sure once you're in our platform, Pro Teach AI, that you have, even if you haven't signed up for Accelerator Academy, that you're taking advantage of checking out the Teach Techies blog. And if you don't have access to our academy and all of our apps and stuff like this, I'll be doing some more videos and sharing here on the podcast over time, some things that might make sense. And we are all about love learning you and learning yourselves. We still have our featured voices every month, our guests, but this is also introducing you all to some tangible tools and some trainings, even through a podcast / YouTube format. So you can see here, this is just such an incredible tool for you to be able to have kids go through and interact with. And again, it can be assigned to them, it can be on their phones. And the cool thing and the reason why I'm showing this is, in a perfect world, you can program this entire quiz that's been generated to actually then yield results where, let me get to the right tab for you all, where you are seeing this. And this is what we'll get into in Jotform Academy. And I just want you all to see the power and the potential. Imagine a student having their own learning portfolio. Now, many of us, especially if you're old school like me, you know about data binders, data folders, and the power of bringing that to life. One of the things with so much of a move to digital technology and having online reports that are automated and sent to parents, etc., is, again, you're missing out on that visualization of data that's so powerful for kids to take ownership and for all parties to really understand, okay, but does my child really understand this? And what do I need to work on with them? This is an example of an app you could develop. I developed this app in about 20 minutes, start to finish. But this is an example of an app through Jotform. Again, sign up completely free. And all I did was then embed that assessment for the 2 weeks that we were going to be studying it. And what will happen if I'm a student is I can click on and take this quiz as many times as I want to show my knowledge. The other example that this could be utilized for, and then why this data is so important, I'll connect it all in just a minute with the Excel file that we started with, is you can then take this. I could post different resources that align with what we're working on that week, but it's a very, very simplified way to also have students reflect on their week and take ownership and align that to not only SEL standards, but also writing standards. So I mocked this up as a sample fourth grade and what you would get. So all that is done is you're going to put the first and last name. Yes, I learned something new. I enjoy drawing or painting and also playing a sport. There you see the different question types. And again, you can design and customize these to be whatever you need to ask your students. And this is going to then give them that narrative prompt. They can add pictures, they can add emojis, they can write you a note, but it opens up that communication with students, but also gives them like, hey, have skin in the game. Let me see what you really were focused on this week and how you thought your week went. And it makes that metacognitive process even stickier for students as far as the ownership. The cool thing about then Jotform is understanding that that same data you collect can then be, it's going to tell me when you complete your quiz. It'll tell me on the spot if I'm a student taking it. But then as a teacher, I can actually look at a spreadsheet like this, and I can download the spreadsheet of all the responses. I could easily copy paste with how you design this to have the exact data you want to then put it into my Excel data dashboard. When we get into the visualization, you will see the bigger picture of how once you set how you want it programmed, you will instantly be able to just enter your data and then have customized graphs for every student, every subject, every class. We'll do some cool things with slicers, etc. But at the end of the day, this is about making your data management not only actionable, but also accessible and something shared with parents and students, with your colleagues. If you're at that place where you go, well, I just don't, and this is a lot of teachers I meet, whether it's Google Sheets or Excel, we just aren't taught the capacity of these tools, and they could make our lives so much easier. My grading and my systems and the ways of tracking student progress, they became 10 times more effective the more that I learned about data and how to actually take action with it. So anyways, I'm glad that you're here. I know this was a lot of information, but make sure you check out the links below. I am linking the sign up so that you can use this cool AI generator tool. Even if that's all you take away from this, have fun. Join our community over at Pro Teach AI. And in that community, I'm also linked our blog below for Teach Techies. Got a whole bunch of cool things happening. So hop in where it fits. And we have a lot more apps coming out on the Pro Teach AI platform, specifically designed to make educators and entrepreneurs' lives easier, healthier, and wealthier, plain and simple. And when all of those things are working together, I got to tell you, life is really, really good. And I look back and there are so many things I say, whew, I could have been working smarter and not harder. There were many things I did to do that. And now there's many things that, having come out of the classroom, out of the principalship, out of my former and previous role as superintendent, and now I can step back and say, okay, what are the pieces that made sense? What are the pieces where I shouldn't have expected someone else to do that, or I was expecting too much of myself? And then how do I bring it all together? All of it goes back to what is the story we're telling? And are we telling an accurate story of what happened, what we need to shift, and what needs to happen moving forward? And then are we also able to identify what worked and what can we replicate that will work in other settings, scenarios, or situations, specifically for students, and then if you're an entrepreneur, for clients. So thanks for tuning in. This was a special episode, but I did have a lot of updates I want to share. And also, again, just be sure that you take advantage of signing up, and you will get access when you sign up to the platform, to our community, and you'll see what else is coming out. And I'll see you over there inside.